week 2 of our midwinter interlude of mixed doubles competition.
It was kind of surprising last week that Dave Richards and Joanne Rosano didn't bowl a little bit better, because on paper they appeared to be probably the strongest coupling out of the 5 sets. But as you know, in a very short format like this, anything can happen. So the number 5 seed goes on to meet this week's number 3 seed.
Let's meet our teams this afternoon. Last week's winner, our number 5 seed, Rich Hallberg from Weymouth, and Deb Desrocher from Methuen.
Yes, Rich Hallberg with an average of 120, high single 184, high triple 474. It's Lucky Strike Lanes in Dorchester is where Rich does his bowling. And Deb Desrocher has an average of 118, 194 high single, 454 triple. She works and bowls at Park Place Lanes in Wyndham.
And they defeated the team of Dave Richards and Joanne Rosano by a score of 334 to 320 last week. They will take on our 3rd-seeded team of Paul St. Pierre of Manchester and Deb Bradford of Peterborough.
Yeah, we saw Paul St. Pierre. Got a big fan club for that couple today. We saw Paul last year on the doubles, mixed doubles, 128 average. Single, 197, a high triple, 476. Exeter Lanes and Park Place Lanes is where Paul does his bowling. And for Deb Bradford, she is making her first television appearance today from Peterborough, New Hampshire. 108 high single is 157, triple 394, and bowls at Bowling Acres in Peterborough.
And we're happy to welcome back Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan of Salem, New Hampshire, as a regular sponsor of Candlepin Stars and Strikes here on WNDS TV. Let's get right to it as mixed doubles competition continues week 2. We're back with this afternoon's match right after this on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashua. We are ready to go with week 2 of our mixed doubles competition on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. There you see the teams that began last week. Rich Hallberg and Deb Desrocher defeating Dave Richards and Joanne Rosano, setting up this week's match against the 3rd-seeded team of Paul St. Pierre and Deb Bradford, with seeds 2 and 1 waiting in the wings, and we'll get to them in the weeks ahead. And first it'll be Deb Desrocher starting us out here this afternoon at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. We're happy to have you with us for Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV.
Deb wasting no time getting to the line and leaving a handful over on the left-hand side.
Looked like she would make it. But then again, we've seen that happen many, many times, haven't we? And that'll be a 10 box.
I thought it was going to go in between.
Looked like there was room, too.
It did. She made one of the most amazing split shots I've ever seen, Dick, last week.
The 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10.
That's right. When we declared it an impossibility, she made a liar. Well, when I declared it impossible, she made a liar out of me, and the crowd went nuts.
It was a great shot. Great moment, because the crowd was electrified. And a big crowd, too. Another big crowd this week here at Leda Lanes. We've been blessed with terrific crowds over the past several years at Leda Lanes, watching Candlepin Stars and Strikes. And each and every time we keep reminding you that owner Ray Simoneau and manager Sean Howard and their staff here at Leda Lanes go out of their way to put on a terrific show for the people who come here to watch our tapings, which generally speaking are the 2nd Tuesday of every month.
Including this coming Tuesday. If you're watching it for the first time on Sunday, January 9th, we'll be taping on Tuesday, January 11th, beginning at 10 a.m.
Get here early for good seats, because people are lined up when the place is opening. And Dick, coffee and donuts are here.
That's it. Dick only signs 50 autographs, and then he goes into makeup. So get here early before his hand cramps up.
It takes that long to get the makeup on.
For a good-looking man like you, I don't think so.
Deb Bradford from Peterborough, bowling 22 years, bowls out of the Bowling Acres in Peterborough. And she'll open with a 10.
Do you realize that if she and Paul win today, she'll be bowling against her brother next week? You aware of that? Dave Crumey is her brother.
I did not know that.
And no apparent sign of nerves for her very first time on television. Very smooth.
I was speaking with her before the telecast. There were a few signs of nerves.
Yes.
But right now, watching her, she looks fine.
Beautiful shot.
And a spare. That takes care of the butterflies. Nothing like a mark to take care of the butterflies. Early on for Deb Bradford, you didn't see it, but she took a big sigh when she came back to her seat.
Didn't quite get a smile out of her, but it was a big exhale, like, that's the hardest thing I've done in my life. Well, other than probably giving birth to their children, but it's a whole different show, I think.
Rich Hallberg steps to the line. Rich from Weymouth, bowling 34 years.
And made a mistake. He does not bowl at East Weymouth lanes. Nobody does. They closed. I didn't know that when we announced him and introduced him last week. He bowls now at Lucky Strike in Dorchester. So my apologies in case anybody thought that East Weymouth was back in business. They are not.
Either that or he bowls alone a lot.
He and I were reminiscing about the old days of the amateur Candlepin tour. It was very popular among non-professional bowlers and had as much money on a weekly basis as the Pro Tour did because there were so many people bowling in it. He was the winner of 9 titles in the years he bowled on that.
How's that for a spare for Rich Hallberg? 4 horsemen on the left and the 10 pin with some wood. Nice shot by Hallberg. And now Paul St. Pierre. No butterflies there.
Yeah, just another day
Watch
at the
it
office.
one more time. This one didn't take long at all, did it?
Brooklyn shot.
And he punches it through with a spread eagle. He's
Back
right
to
on
reality.
the headpin. He gave it a run. $825 in our triple strike jackpot.
He's got this thing for Debbie's, doesn't he?
We were talking about that before we came on the air.
His last 3 appearances on doubles have been with Debbie's. He won with Deb Desrocher and lost last year with Deb Regan, and he's bowling today with Deb Bradford. Better keep an eye on your wife, Deb, as well, Dick. You never know.
There's a nice shot and a nice spare for Deb Desrocher. 2 marks in a row. They're looking for some bonus money here. We didn't give away any bonus money last week.
So we left a bigger tip at the Kahala.
Well, you hit the pool last week, so it's your turn to leave the tip.
What pool would that be? Actually, we have a little pool here with the crew as to how many times Dick is going to mention the word Worcester during the broadcast. And the over-under, well, I hit the under last week. So that's what he's referring to.
Deb Desrocher with a 10 box. And here's Deb Bradford. Deb's the assistant manager at Bowling Acres in Peterborough. She and her husband Jay have 3 children, Michael, Ashley, and Tyler.
So both our women bowlers today are employees of the bowling centers where they bowl. Park Place for Deb Desrocher, Bowling Acres for Deb Bradford.
10 box for Deb Bradford. Among her hobbies, she lists co-ed softball and women's fast pitch. Plays the outfield. She plays volleyball when there's time, which isn't often, and I can imagine that with 3 kids. There's a good pocket shot, a little thin, but leaves the 4, 7, and 8. During the course of the match, we'll be mentioning some of the cards and letters we've been receiving from our viewers over the course of the past several weeks. We encourage you to write to us at WNDS TV, 50 Television Place, Derry, New Hampshire, 03038. That's a 9 box for Deb Bradford. 2-pin lead for the team of Deb Bradford and Paul St. Pierre over Deb Desrocher and Rich Hallberg.
Runners-up will split $300 today, some added money. Thank you to Ray Simino. Here at Lita Lanes, adding some extra cash to the doubles.
Hallberg in the pocket that time, but the 8-pin still stands. And the winning team gets gift certificates from Haverhill Beef as well.
And with Super Bowl just a couple of weeks away, not too early to start planning how you're going to cater the party at your house in terms of a party platter, some marinated kebabs perhaps. They've got a wonderful variety of meats and other meal accessories at Haverhill Beef. Joe Terrazzano and his family will give you extra personal attention if you tell them you're a fan of Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Well, the wood caused the problem for Rich Hallberg that time. He hit it on the nose. It knocked the ball away. He was not able to convert the spare and had to settle for a 9-box. He's at 82 through 7. Threw it past the head pin there.
Winners by about, what, 14, 15 pins last week. Dave Richards and Joanne Rosano having a very tough day.
14 pins, 344, 334 to 320. And that'll be a tough 6-box for Rich Hallberg. Paul St. Pierre. The very first ball he threw was for a strike, and they have been open since, and he'll be right through the hole. Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV is made possible by a terrific crew that works very hard to bring you all of the shots and the sounds and the excitement of Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Our director today is Ken Knight. Working audio is Dave Hand. Our tape players manned by Dave McCarthy. On computer graphics, Larry Taylor. The video is controlled by Paul Hunter. Bob Dole, Jim McLean, and Jeff Garcia on the cameras. And you saw the camera shot of the strike by Paul St. Pierre, and you'll get to see it again right here. Second strike of the string for Paul.
410 almost didn't want to go down, but finally did. As Deb Desrocher delivers a split, the 4, 7, 9, and 10. She's got some wood. It's makeable. Very tough. She seems to thrive on the more difficult spares, it appears.
10-box. I mentioned Jim McLean is one of our cameramen. Not only is he one of our cameramen, he's also certifiably insane.
He's a nutcase.
As he was warming up the crowd here today, decked out in, how would you describe it?
Black
war
gaffer's
paint?
tape or something. I don't know what it was. Looked like something out of the WWF, though. A refugee.
As Deb will be open in the 10th frame. She's at 104 right now. 9-box, a 107 first string for Hallberg and Desrocher. Now Deb Bradford working on a strike.
Well, the crowd, of course, pulling for a triple strike. And I think we had a double thrown last year in the mixed double stick.
I remember it.
It's too bad. It was a great first ball, so she'll fill the strike with a 9 that her partner, Paul St. Pierre, threw the previous frame.
13-pin lead, box to box, 1 box remaining, up against a 9. Just missed the head pin, leaves the 4 horsemen on the left side. Piece of wood in the back. Might be frozen against 1 or 2 of the pins. She just picked the head pin right off it. So she'll be open in the 10th frame. And this match will be within about a mark. A 9, it'll be a 120, a 13-pin lead for the team of Deb Bradford and Paul St. Pierre over Rich Hallberg and Deb Desrocher. Headed to string 2. Mixed doubles continues on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. The team of Paul St. Pierre and Deb Bradford leading the team of Rich Hallberg and Deb Desrocher by 13 pins as we start the second string with Paul St. Pierre leading off.
6, 7, 10.
With some wood.
Yeah, not all that helpful.
Well, it'll spray. One of the things about wood in Candlepin bowling is you just never know where it's going to end up.
Well, St. Pierre is a very, very avid golfer. As we tape this in December, the weather's been very nice up to this point in the middle of the month. Paul told me he went golfing the previous Saturday. Tries to go every possible Saturday the golf courses are open. So now that we're into January, I think the sticks have been put away at least for another couple months.
Although the weather's been screwy, normally the sticks are put away in December when he was playing golf. Another 10 box. Here's Rich Hallberg acknowledging some of the letters and cards that we received from you. Anthony Aprilli, I believe, is the correct pronunciation, of Lexington, Massachusetts, wrote us a nice note. Anthony's a regular viewer of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS, and it's nice to hear from you, Anthony, and thank you for watching. As Rich Hallberg looks over the wood rolling around in front of the 6 and the 10 pin. This is problematic here. Yep.
Yeah, went for the outside, hoping to sweep it over. And we'll see what would have happened now had he gone this way.
That's what would have happened.
There you go.
Hindsight is always, as they say, 20/20, Michael.
And nobody's better at it than we are, Dick.
Another nice card from Mrs. Jerry O'Neill, a longtime viewer of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. She's from Hillsborough, New Hampshire. And Mrs. O'Neill, thank you very much for taking the time to write to us. As Rich Hallberg leaves a 5-pin standing.
Yeah, the 9 fell forward, and I thought it would take out the 5, but it did not. But a good fill for the first. No, I'm sorry, that was a 10 in the first frame. We could have a pair of 10s for both bowlers starting game number 2 in a very close 13-pin match.
All 10s, all the time. Deb Bradford from Peterborough, New Hampshire. She and Paul St. Pierre combined for a 6-14 roll-off score, which was good enough for 3rd place in the mixed doubles roll-off here at Leda Lane. Speaking of roll-offs at Leda Lanes, they're ongoing, and you can find out more by calling Leda Lanes or stopping by. They're on Amherst Street in Nashua. You can give them a call at 603-889-4884 and find out when the next roll-off will be scheduled and give it a shot. It's the only way you'll ever find out if you can compete with the best Candlepin bowlers in the business. And maybe we'll see you someday on a future telecast on Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
We're always happy to see a fresh face on the show, as is Deb Bradford, her very first time on TV ever. Doing a great job leaving the 1, the 6, and the 10 with some wood.
Obviously, the 1 pin is key here. She'll take that and miss the spare.
Too direct. Needed to be a little bit more to the right, or even to the left. Just jam the wood right into the 6-10 here.
That's what she does, a 10 box. Looking for our first mark of the 2nd string by either team. Deb Desrocher stands on lane 34. Right in the head pin.
That was a beauty. 4-pin stays. We're also looking for our first bonus money giveaway. Haven't done that last week. Haven't done so yet today. $50 for 3 marks in a row.
Missed the spare. And a 9 box. Deb will miss the head pin, but get pretty good action, and a couple of pins dance but don't go down. 4 horsemen and the 8 pin on the left side of the lane.
Our friend Tony Zernicki writes, we've talked a lot, Dick, about the game. You have your ups, your downs, your big game, followed by a a lousy game afterwards, and he sent along some interesting scores that his son put together a number of years ago, and I don't see any bad ones in here. He's trying to illustrate our point. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on.
We go to the break. Neither team has a mark in the second string. It's a very tight match, and we will continue with mixed doubles from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Paul St. Pierre ready to go as we get back to live action.
Talking about Tony Zernicke a moment ago, he's been a man who's been involved with the WCBC till recently retiring for many, many years. Couldn't be with us for today's taping. I'll tell you why.
That was a great line in that letter, wasn't it? Why he couldn't be here?
He says, I will be at the Polish-American Veterans Club in Webster with about 20 other men and women making at least 7,000 pierogi for the Christmas holidays.
I hope he brings some to us next time for next month's taping.
A little dried out, though.
Well,
you mean some new ones? Some fresh
freeze them.
Oh, I love Polish food. Pierogi.
7 in the mark. Oh, look at that. He almost made it. He gave it a run.
Tony Zernicke is our stats angel. He keeps me posted on some of the past history of our great game.
Watch Paul St. Pierre almost make this spare. They surround the 7-pin. One to the front, one to the rear, and the 7-pin survived. Here's Rich Hallberg. In the pocket, none survived there.
Gives himself a round of applause, and why not?
First mark of the string for the team of Hallberg and Desrocher. A strike by Rich in the 5th frame. $825 in the triple strike jackpot. He missed the head pin, but they're still falling. And the 1 and the 7 will remain with a piece of wood between them. If that wood stays there, it's going to roll off the deck. He missed the head pin.
Trying to get it on the inside, the deflection shot.
And that'll be a 9 box for Rich. Dead even in this string. The lead remains at 13.
A $300 prize to our winning couple today. I'm sorry, our runners-up. Dave Crumey and Nancy Vestal will take on whoever wins in this match today.
Deb Bradford. You got the 1, the 2, and the 8, which is more like the 7.5 right now as it bounced around a little bit. She'll take the spare. Nice spare for Deb Bradford. On the mark. Six in the spare.
Looked as though it could have been a half Worcester when the ball hit the pins, but she got a real nice explosion in the back and knocked a few pins around.
Just missed the head pin there.
Couldn't capitalize on the break.
And a 9 box for Deb Bradford. 89 through 8 for the team of Bradford and St. Pierre. Deb Desrocher tries to lift her team back into it. In the pocket. Tough split remains. There's wood on the deck to help. Tough angle shot coming here for Deb Desrocher. Plays the wood on the right and looks for some bouncing and doesn't get any. Deb Desrocher bowls out of Park Place in Wyndham.
Where she works as well. Customer service.
She enjoys sharing her husband's passion for auto racing. Her husband, Buddy, is the crew chief for Bush North team of Brian Wall of Plastow, New Hampshire. Oh, Almost.
It was the diamond and the 7-pin. Diamond went, the 7 stayed. And this match stays very, very close.
That'll be a 9 box for Deb Desrocher. The match lead is now 19 pins for St. Pierre and Bradford, with 2 boxes remaining in the second string. Paul St. Pierre, Brooklyn side. Pins dancing around again. Boy, we see pins dance at these lanes, I'm telling you. This is a makeable shot here for Paul. Ooh, he just did get it.
Adding to their already 16-pin lead with another 10, and then whatever the fill is as he bowls now in the 10th frame on lane 33.
He'll put 6 in the spare. Paul's the tool and die maker at New Hampshire Stamping in Goffstown. Missed the spare there. He and his wife Maureen have been married for 24 years. They have 3 daughters, Jessica, Amanda, and Nicole, and a granddaughter, Mackenzie, who's just 18 months. He finishes with a 9 box, a 114 string for the team of Paul St. Pierre and Deb Bradford. Now Rich Hallberg needs to mark here to keep his team within sight of the leaders. There they go. It's a strike for Rich Hallberg.
His second of the match.
Was not textbook, but it counts just the same.
Well, you know, the only 2 marks in this game have been strikes by Rich Hallberg.
We'll get to take another quick look at it again. There they go, and here's back to live action. Hallberg again trying to go back door. Watch out. The head pin moved to the right. Spare opportunity here for Rich Hallberg. He got it. He finishes with a double mark. So we're going to have a very tight match going to the 3rd string.
It'll be a single figure lead. Bradford and St. Pierre. After
And
leading
this is a
by over
$50
20.
shot right here if he can strike.
It is.
Right in the pocket, and it is a strike. He closes out with a triple mark. A 123 string. A 4-pin lead in the match for Deb Bradford and Paul St. Pierre. Watch this shot as we go to break. And we head to the 3rd string of this exciting match. Don't go away. Candlepin Stars and Strikes continues on WNDS TV. Rich Hallberg will try to pick up where he left off at the end of the 2nd string. An exciting finish to the 2nd string. A strike, spare, strike for Rich Hallberg, and we're ready to go with the 3rd string. And a match that is separated by just 4 pins. And Rich Hallberg,
cooling off during the commercial, probably wished that it had been the middle of the match where he could have kept going. Of course, in the doubles format, they're alternating teams anyway, so they're sitting down a little bit more. There's the 4 horsemen on the right side. Best he can hope for is a 10. Closing the match to within 4 after being a couple marks behind going into the 10th frame.
9 box to start out for Rich Hallberg in the 3rd string. The format for mixed doubles: the women bowl first in the 1st string, the men bowl first in the 2nd string. Then each team has the option to decide who will bowl first in the 3rd string. And the Hallberg Desrocher team chose Rich to lead off in the 3rd string, and we'll wait to see what the team of St. Pierre and Bradford decides. Well, Rich will be open in the first 2 frames of the 3rd string. And an 8 box. Now Paul St. Pierre
throws a sweeping curve from the far right side into the middle of the pins. Standing to the right, throwing kind of a curve as well. Very reminiscent of a 10-pin delivery. Kind of side spin that he gets. Shoving the 5-pin a little over and the 2-pin over to the right. Kind of distorting that set of pins. only knocking one out of the 5. 2, 5, 7, and 8 remain.
Nice note here from Pat Simmons of Salisbury, Massachusetts, who writes, Michael, it's her second time writing to us, and she wanted to let us know that her 7-year-old grandson Sean and his 9-year-old brother Kyle went bowling with their mother and the teacher was impressed that they knew all of the bowling terms from watching Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV every week. And that's a great letter, and I appreciate hearing from Mrs. Pat Simmons of Salisbury, Massachusetts. Pat, thanks very much for writing.
That's what makes the game so colorful. Various terms that have evolved over the years. Some have great stories and some you can never figure out. We pretty much went through the half Worcester history ad infinitum last season, so we won't go there. But it's what makes the game very unique from the 10-pin perspective, in that it has a very local flavor and some very interesting terms that you don't see in the other forms of bowling.
Deb Desrocher, can she pick it up? Almost. Converting the 4-7-10, the 10-pin still stands.
Although I think the occasional and rare profanity is universal to all the versions of bowling. Of course, you'll never hear that on our family program.
At least not on Mike.
You're going to hear it more with the bowlers than us, I think.
Deb leaves the 4 horsemen on the left side. Nice shot. Deb Desrocher picking it up from the outside. The 4 horsemen on the left side of the lane. First mark of the 3rd string for the Hallberg Desrocher team. And now Deb Bradford will fill the spare as you watch the spare again. Now here's Deb Bradford working on the spares that was accomplished by Paul St. Pierre.
I don't know if you knew this, Dick, but Deb Desrocher, who we saw make that spare, was partners with Paul St. Pierre, who she's bowling against today, to win the mixed doubles here on WNDS in 1995. So she's bowling against a man with whom she won the tournament 4 years ago.
9 box for Deb Bradford. The head pin, and there they go. Will they all go? That's the 3-pin that's still there.
Yeah, there's a kind of spare shot you like. You can put it almost anywhere and make it. Right into the V.
She's got it on.
Didn't need the wood.
A mark going into the break. Both teams working on marks. Tight match. Heading down the home stretch. Don't go away. We continue with mixed doubles on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Rich Hallberg will be first to bowl. 6 boxes remain. 10 pins separate these two teams, with the team of Deb Bradford and Paul St. Pierre in the lead. They're our number 3 seed. Hallberg and Desrocher are our number 5 seed. They eliminated Dave Richards and Joanne Rosano last week, the 4th seeded team. Waiting in the wings, Dave Crumey and Nancy Vestal, and Dave Hodge and Deb Regan at the top of the ladder.
Deb Regan taking exception to my comments at the top of the show that on paper Richards and Rosano look like they should be the favorites. She let me know that she didn't quite agree with that comment. She's a spunky one, she is. And she's a top seed with Dave Hodge, who's never bowled on television before. Should be an interesting mix to see how those guys work out together. You'll see them 2 weeks from today.
You saw Rich's reaction. He was not pleased with that shot just then. Off the head pin. And that'll be an 8 box for Rich Hallberg. Now Paul St. Pierre working on a spare. Fills the spare with 9.
And how the 4-pin stayed up, I have no clue.
Never moved.
That was a booming shot from right to left, right into the 1-3 pocket.
2 marks in a row. Chance for some bonus money for the team of St. Pierre and Bradford. 6 more in the spare. This is a $50 shot. Put it in the bank.
And they've got the match lead now by 21 pins, adding to the 4 they took going into this 3rd game.
Deb Desrocher needs to mark. And she comes up with a half Worcester. We continue to get mail on the half Worcester, which we brought up about 12 months ago.
So pull out your old tapes, folks. We're not going to go through that again for those who've already heard our explanation. And it's an interesting story, but only the first 8 times.
8 bucks for Deb Desrocher. And the Desrocher Hallberg team desperately needs marks.
Running out of steam after Rich had a wonderful flourish of 3 marks in a row to end last game. And now, serious challenge. 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. It's the spread eagle minus the 10-pin.
Try from the right side. Look at that. Of all the pins still standing, that's the least likely.
And not a straight shot either at the 7-pin. Wood in the way.
9 bucks. Time running out on Hallberg and Desrocher as Deb Bradford comes up to fill the spare left by Paul St. Pierre. Watch this, almost making that virtually impossible shot. Deb Bradford puts 6 in the spare. Now a $25 shot here.
Add that to the 50 that they've already made.
Each successive mark worth $25. She missed the head pin. Knew it right away. Turned back to the ball rack. And an 8 box.
Well, they'll take a 20-plus pin lead into the last 2 frames. Mark would make things a little easier on the anchor men coming up.
Right on the head pin and right through. Breaks up the spread eagle, but leaves the tough shot. You got to look at some of the great crowd on hand here at Leda Lanes.
It's a wall of humanity.
Right through the middle. I want to remind you, next time you're in the area of Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, stop by the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge right next door. Take advantage of the terrific lunch buffet every Monday through Saturday from 11:45 to 2. The dinner buffet Thursday from 5 to 8 and going on right now Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. And they just do a terrific job. We enjoy it every time we come to tape our Candlepin Stars and Strikes show. I'm sure you will too. Stop by the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge, 340 Amherst Street in Nashua, right next door to Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Rich Hallberg.
I think it just about does it.
We're going to remove a piece of wood that came too far out. Chris Bovair, our official scorer, runs down to remove that wood from out front.
He'll take it back with him and slide it down the lane later. This is how it should be done.
And that'll be an 8 box. For Rich, they're at 86. Going to need a mark to break 100. Need a triple mark to get back in the match even. That won't do it.
No, they are mathematically out of it at this point.
So it will be Paul St. Pierre and Deb Bradford advancing.
Against her brother, Dave Crumey, and his partner, Nancy Vesco.
That takes on an interesting aspect, doesn't it?
Not sure we've had brothers and sisters competing, not let alone on the same show, but against each other in past years.
Rich Hallberg finishes with a 10 box at 96. 3-string total 326. now Paul St. Pierre to close it out. They're already at 343. And that'll be a 10 box the hard way.
Trick shot. 7 and the 9.
Look at it again. Well, he played the wood right off the wall. And he comes back with a strike.
And putting the exclamation point on the victory this afternoon.
Let's see if he can put 2 more together and pick up an extra $825. That's what's in the triple strike jackpot. Here's number 2 in the pocket. Will they go? No. So the jackpot is safe for another week. Put 9 in the strike, a 130 string, and a 364 triple. They win 364 to 326. Paul St. Pierre and Deb Bradford advance. We're going to come back to meet the bowlers when we return to Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, when Candlepin Stars and Strikes continues on WNDS TV. It was a strong finish by Paul St. Pierre and Deb Bradford as they defeat Rich Hallberg and Deb Desrocher. Final score 364 to 326.
Yeah, the match was really very much in question all the way to the middle of the 3rd string, but it was the 3 marks in a row by St. Pierre and Bradford that seemed to turn the tide and take some of the steam out of our other bowlers today. So the tide really turned, but it was down to the last couple boxes.
And let's turn to my right, and we will present the consolation prizes here this afternoon to Deb Desrocher and to Rich Hallberg, $150 each. We have $50 in bonus money. And we were saying before we came back from the break, you're going to tell everybody about this match except for that 3rd string.
Yeah, everybody can watch up until the 3rd string. Then I'd appreciate it if everybody would find something to do. Because I think I hit the pin once, and if you could find something to do for the 3rd string, I'd appreciate it.
Rich, congratulations.
So the show's over, Rich.
Thanks very much, Rich. Deb, congratulations to you. We'll see you again on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Rich Hallberg and Deb Desrocher here, the runners up here this afternoon. Now it'll be Paul St. Pierre bowling bonus ball, and we'll try to match him up with a winner from home.
Four?
4. We haven't had a 4 in a long time, huh? Let's see if there's a 4 in there, Michael.
I know who's throwing the ball next week if you guys win. Right? All right, let's see if there's a 4.
Mike will reach in there and see if he can grab a 4.
We have plenty of time, so I'm going to see if I can find a 4.
Mike's looking for a 4. He's digging deep.
I think I just found a $20 bill down there.
Let's see what you got. It's Gary Ercolani of Gloucester, and guess what number Gary picked, everybody?
What do you think?
7. It's incorrect. Consolation prize from N&R Trophies in Winchendon, Massachusetts for Gary Ercolani of Gloucester. 10 free strings. Nope, we'll draw another card on that one.
Same name?
Same name. How's that going to happen? We're going to draw another card on that one.
Uh-oh. Investigation.
They were stuck together. We'll draw another one. This is Helen Mailman of Gardner, Massachusetts. 10 strings of bowling here at Leda Lanes. And we'll bring on Paul St. Pierre and Deb Bradford and talk about the strong finish. We have gift certificates to Haverhill B, $50 in bonus money. And you advance next week to take on Deb's brother. How's that? That's just safe. It's an interesting match.
It's just another big guy I have to deal with. No problem.
You can handle it. How are you going to feel about bowling against a brother?
I'm ready for him. I'm ready. Oh, yeah.
Have you bowled against each other before?
No.
First
No, we
time.
usually bowl together.
Now, this was your first time on TV. How was it?
Nervous.
You did just fine, and you'll do just fine next week as well, too. Congratulations to you. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week. And mixed doubles continues. Deb Bradford and Paul St. Pierre, and they climb the ladder. Up they go.
I'm kind of wondering if the brothers sisters were very competitive when they were kids. Now the competition is for money next week. And I think we have a few seconds just to remind everybody the Tournament of Champions, which we kind of put on hold for a few weeks. Mike Poulin still on top, Joe Tavernese and Scott Creighton will resume the normal singles format 3 weeks from today, actually.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next time for mixed doubles competition when we continue from Leda Lanes in Nashua. For Mike Morin and our entire WNDS TV 50 crew, I'm Dick Lutz. So long, everyone. We'll see you next time on Candlepin Stars and Strikes.